Okay, next topic is of Maxwell's equation in the point form and also in terms of a integral form. What all the equations we learned in the previously, and we already came to know some of the equations are represented and it's given by the Maxwell's. The same equations we will be learning. Actually, he proposed four equations which it is giving the information about how a magnetic field is going to be which will it will be changing with respect to the surface, any of the field if I am going to be taking, how it is going to be varying. He abbreviated the each individual research experiments. He taken those and he maintained four equations of how a magnetic field is going to be changing in any of the forms. Okay, for the reason will be this is having more important Maxwell's equation, which is giving the information about our magnetic field, how it is going to be varying for that reason. Okay, here the two equations for time varying fields are taken as we already came to know this equation, these two equations, that is del cross E electric field intensity, that is going to be equals to minus dou B divided by dou T magnetic flux density, the B. Then about it's a current density of B. Then and our del cross H, this is of magnetic flux intensity, that is going to be equals to the J plus dou D divided by dou T. These two equations we already came to know in the previous cases only. Then the remaining two equations other than these are unchanged from a non-time varying form. These two are time varying function. Non-time varying functions are taken here as del cross D, that is going to be equals to rho V. Then del cross dot B is going to be equals to 0. What is this two equations are giving the information for us? The first third equation, that is del dot D is going to be equals to rho V. It states that the charge density is a source or a sink. It may release or it may terminate of electric flux lines. States that the charge density is a source or a sink of electric flux lines. Then note that we can no longer say that all electric flux begins and terminates on a charge only. Means the flux what is going to be generating from a charge, it's not that it will starting and it will be ending from that point only. Because of the point form of Faraday's laws, what it shows for us, that is about electric field intensity and flux density, that is D, may have a circulation if the changing magnetic field is present. Means one after the another it will be changing from field to the flux density, in intensity to the flux density. It will be vice versa. It will be either it may have intensity and else after that if flux density or flux density to the intensity, it will be varying with respect to those. Then thus the lines of electric flux may form a closed loop. For that reason here it is telling that our thus the lines of the electric flux is in form of closed loops. However, the converse is also true, means from a closed path we can generate the electric flux also. True, and every coulombs of charge must have 1 coulomb of the electric flux diverging from it. Means from one point charge if I am going to take, it will be giving its own electric flux from it. That's what the meaning here. This information it's given by the third equation, that is del dot D is going to be equals to rho V. Next, the equation 4, here it is going to be again acknowledges the fact that magnetic charges or poles are not known to exist. It may exist or it may not exist. Magnetic flux is always found in a closed loops. The magnetic flux, that is B, is always found in a closed loop and never diverges from a point source. It will not never going to be diverging, or means from it's going to be changing not towards or anything. It will be acting its own way. That's what the meaning of here. Magnetic flux is always found in closed loop and never diverges from a point source. And these four equations form a basic of all electromagnetic theory. What is these for? From equation 1 to 4, it's this all giving the information about our electromagnetic theory, how it is going to be acting on any of the surface. They are partial differential equations and related to the electric and also magnetic fields to each other and to their source and charge and current density. This is the information it will be giving. Then the auxiliary equations relating to D and E, already we come to know this equation, that is D is going to be equals to epsilon of E. Then relating with the B and H, this magnetic flux in terms of magnetic, this is in terms of your electric field and it is in terms of magnetic field, that is B is going to be equals to mu times H. Then defining the conduction current, therefore the J is going to be equals to conductivity in terms of electric field intensity, that is E. And defining the conventional current density in terms of a volume charge, therefore I can write here equation as J, that is going to be equals to rho V times V. Is also required to define and relate the quantities appearing in the Maxwell's equation. The potential of V and A have not been included above in the any of the cases because they are not strictly necessary. It's not volume and area, it's not, it should be there, but any of the part if it is there, that will be enough. Not necessary, although they are extremely useful. In which surface, what the characteristics of the field, how it is going to be generating due to the current, that those things are very important. It's irrespective of the volume and area how it is going to be. Then if we do not have the nice material, means which material you are going to be using to work with, then we should replace the equation 5 and 6. These, it will be changing the equation. We have to replace the equation by the relationship involving the polarization and magnetization fields. We will be changing these two equations as D is going to be equals to epsilon naught in a free space E plus polarization, here mu naught H plus magnetization. These changes we have to make when our material what we are going to be choosing, if it is not in a good fashion. Then for linear materials relating to P and E, P is going to be equals to xi naught xi E epsilon naught E. Then for magnetization, M is going to be xi m H. This is the relationship we have to consider when it's going to be taken with the linear materials. Then because of its fundamental importance, including a Lorentz equation, force equation written in a point form as a force per unit volume, that is F is going to be equals to rho V E plus V cross B. This is what the equation proposed by the Lorentz force equation. This is what the equations in terms of a point form. Maxwell's equation in terms of a point form. Next, Maxwell's equation in terms of a integral form. The integral form of Maxwell's equations are usually easier to recognize in terms of a experimental laws from which they are being obtained by the generalization process. The experiments must treat physically macroscopic quantities and their results therefore are exposed in terms of a integral relationship. A differential equation always represents a theory. Then why we are going to be taking the equations in terms of a integral form? The whatever the methods we will be learning, it's not giving a generalized equation in terms of a differentiation. If I am going for, when you want for one, if I take the Stokes theorem only, what's the Stokes theorem is telling? The curl what we will be going to observing of the surface, instead of taking whole surface, what we done, we taken the part of this and again a part of this and again we divided each in a different rows and columns, and then the one part of that we take and we find out what is the characteristics of that, how it is going to be acting of our electric field or flux, whatever it's going to be due to that point charge, right? This is if I'm taking one part from that, means it I can use of a differentiation. But when I want the whole what it's going to be of that surface, it will be best suitable way is to take the integration. It will be giving from where to where we have to go for. That's the limit what it will be taking from which point to the which point. A generalized equation we can represent. For that reason we will be shifting instead from point form to the integral form. What's still now it's in a theory, it's taken the same thing. Okay, then let now collect the integral form of a Maxwell's equation. The integrating over a surface and applying a Stokes theorem. Again we are going to be using the same thing what we learned. Obtaining a Faraday's laws. This already we taken the equation, I hope you remember. That is surface closed integration E dot dl is going to be minus integration with surface dou b divided by T dot ds. Then in same way, by yielding of the Ampere circuit's law, that is I integration H dot dl is going to be equals to I plus integration S dou d divided by dou T dot ds. This two equations we already come across in the previous place only. Then Gauss law for electric and magnetic fields are obtained by integrating del dot D and del dot B throughout the volume and using the divergence theorem. Just if I take, then I will be getting as integration closed integration surface d dot ds is going to be equals to integration with the volume rho v dv. Then integration b dot ds is going to be equals to 0. Just we were in the point form, we just replacing those in the point forms in terms of integration. The same equation just taken the integration forms here. Yes, these two equations taken here 1, 2 and 3, 4 equations. Then these 4 integral equations enables us to find a boundary conditions on BD, H and also in terms of E due to magnetic field and also due to electric field, what's going to be density and also in terms of intensity. Current density, this is electric flux density, this is magnetic field density, magnetic flux density, then electric field intensity. These two intensities, right? These two are densities, magnetic flux density, electric field density, which are necessary to evaluate the constants obtained in solving the Maxwell's equations in terms of a partial differential form. And these boundary conditions are in general unchanged from their forms for the static and steady fields, and the same methods may be used to obtain the conditions. Then between any two real physical media, where K must be 0 on boundary surface, if it is taken, then equation 1 enables us to relate a tangential E field component. Then ET1 is going to be equals to ET2. Then taken that as equation 5. Then from equation 2, this equation 2, from this HT1 is going to be equals to HT2 if I am taking the boundary limit from T1 to T2. Then the surface integral produce a boundary conditions on normal component as dN1 minus dN2 is going to be equals to rho s, and Bn1 is going to be equals to Bn2, and it is often desirable to idealize a physical problem by assuming a perfect conductor for which the conductivity, that is sigma, is infinity, but the current, how much it's going to current density J is finite. From Ohm's law, for perfect conductor field intensity is going to be 0 only. Then and it follows from the point form of Faraday's law, that is H is going to be equals to 0. Then for time varying fields, the point form of Ampere's circuit law then shows us finite value of J is always 0. These all terms are going to be 0 only. Then, and current must be carried on a conductor surface as a surface current K. Thus, if the region 2 is perfect conductor from one region to another region, the region 2 is perfect conductor, then equation 5 to 8, from equation 5 to 8 it will be changing as ET1 is going to be equals to 0, then HT1 is going to be equals to K, that is in terms of your direction also, then cross with AN, then dN1 is going to be equals to the row, the surface area, how much is going to be taking, then BN1, that is also going to be equals to 0. AN is an outward normal at the conductor surface. Then note that the surface charge density is considered a physical possibility for either dielectrics of perfect conductors or imperfect conductors. This physical possibility for the surface charge density I can consider here in these cases: perfect conductors, imperfect conductors, but that surface current density is assumed only in the conjunction with the perfect conductors only. We are preferring for perfect conductors, whatever the properties we will be learning from that. Then the boundary conditions stated above are a very necessary part of a Maxwell's equation. All real physical problems have boundaries and require the solution of the Maxwell's equations in two or more regions and matching of these solutions at the boundaries. Means what the boundary condition we are going to be taking. From where to where our charges are moving, what is our magnetic field, what is our electric field, what is the density of these electric field or in terms of a magnetic field, how it is going to be varying. The equations from the Maxwell, it giving all the informations for the how a boundary is limited. Means boundary limit for a copper wire, if I'm passing a current through this, it's a perfect conducting element only. From this, how a magnetic field is going to be generating, how its characteristics, those all informations are given by the Maxwell's equation. That's what here it is telling for us. Then in case of perfect conductors, the solution of equations within the conductor is trivial. All time varying fields are going to be 0. But the application of boundary conditions, that equation 9 to 12, these four equations may be very difficult when we go with the perfect conductors. Certain fundamental properties of wave propagation are evident when Maxwell's equations are solved for an unbounded regions. When we go with the wave propagation, the cable networks, how it is going to be taking, based on the reflection of each of the field, how it is going to be propagating the information from one place to the another place. In such applications, we'll be using of the our Maxwell's equations also. These are all the equations are very important about in terms of a point form. Remember these four equations. Based on those four, go on writing the theory part. Then in terms of a integral form, only of here four equations, the same point form is represented in terms of a integration. Then these last four equations. This is about the Maxwell's point form and also in terms of a integral form.